While controversy over the hoax continues, today the BBC refers to Dawson as the Piltdown Faker. They write that of his discoveries, at least 38 are fakes. The only suspect in these frauds is Charles Dawson himself, the same man who uncovered the remains of Eanthropus dawsoni, the Piltdown man. BBC concludes that for Charles Dawson, Piltdown was not a one-off hoax, more the culmination of a life's work. Yet Dawson did not act alone. His partner in the Piltdown affair was a young paleontologist and Roman Catholic Jesuit priest named Pierre Teilhard du Chardin.
I tend to believe, and a Catholic priest named Pierre de Chardin was involved in this also, and he really pushed evolution on the Catholic Church because he said, oh, we got proof, we got this half man, half monkey.
After Dawson's death, Teilhard would become heir to the find of the century and may be the man most responsible for the normalization of evolutionary thinking in Western culture today. Teilhard would go on to work in China and take part in the now famous Peking Man discovery, a collection of would-be missing links that mysteriously disappeared in 1941 before anyone could fully examine them. Of 175 fossil fragments recorded, all were supposedly lost. Only the notes and photographs taken by Teilhard and his team of scientists remain. Modern critics question the integrity of the find because of Teilhard's association with Charles Dawson, the Piltdown Faker. But Teilhard's scientific deceptions are minor when compared to the theological abyss that he sought to drag himself and humanity into. He wrote, "Is evolution a theory, a system, or a hypothesis? It is much more. It is the general condition to which all theories, all hypotheses, all systems must bow, and which they must satisfy henceforward if they are to be thinkable and true. Evolution is a light illuminating all facts, a curve that all lines must follow." Treated as an apostate by the Vatican, banned from teaching, and forbidden to publish his writings, Teilhard became the hero of sophisticated Protestants and then returned to the good graces of Rome 26 years after his death. The Catholic Church, that once rejected evolutionary thinking, seems to have been among those who bowed to its hypothesis, largely due to the influence of Teilhard, who had become a hero and role model for a whole generation of younger priests and theologians. He set the stage for the renewal movements which finally came to flower in the era of Vatican II. Vatican II is the Catholic document that launched the ecumenical movement for the purpose of ultimately unifying mankind in a universal faith. Evolution plays a key role in ecumenism since the pagan religions of the world are largely based on its precepts. Under Pope John Paul II, Rome now considers evolution to be a part of the gospel truth. It is reported that the Pope has put the teaching authority of the Roman Catholic Church firmly behind the view that the human body is the product of a gradual process of evolution. But the influence of this Jesuit priest would reach far beyond the walls of Rome. In 1985, author Marilyn Ferguson published her controversial book, The Aquarian Conspiracy, which USA Today called the Handbook of the New Age. In it, Ferguson describes a worldwide conspiracy of people seeking to bring about a paradigm shift in global consciousness. In the Los Angeles Times, Marilyn Ferguson revealed that Teilhard was the name most frequently mentioned by 185 leaders in the New Age movement when Ferguson asked who was the most influential person in their lives. By the end of the 20th century, Teilhard du Chardin would be known by many as the father of the New Age. Teilhard died in 1955, but his passing only marked the beginning of his meteoric rise to fame. His treatises, long suppressed, were published and quickly translated into all major languages. Harvard's Widener Library now houses an entire tier of books devoted to Teilhard's writing and thinking. Today, more and more people, Christians as well as non-Christians, accept his views and take keen interest in studying his philosophy. He has become known for his theory that man is evolving mentally and socially toward a final spiritual unity. Andrew Jackson Davis, known by some as the prophet of the New Revelation, channeled a message from the spirit realm that called for the paleontological sciences to direct man's perception of God through the study of nature. Is it merely coincidence that Teilhard de Chardin, a priest and paleontologist, would lead the way into the dawn of a new age? Researcher Charles P. Henderson writes, this paleontologist and Jesuit priest made it his personal mission to reconstruct the most basic Christian doctrines from the perspectives of science. He would do this by overthrowing all the barriers that had been erected between science and religion. He would take the lessons learned from the study of nature as the foundation on which to reconstruct the Christian faith. After the similar examples of Swedenborg, Phineas Quimby, and Mary Baker Eddy, Teilhard sought to deny the reality of sin and openly rejected the biblical gospel. In 1947, Teilhard said, very definitely there was no Adam and no Eve and no original sin. He wrote that original sin continually obstructs the natural expansion of our religion. It is a straitjacket that checks any movement of heart or head. It binds us hand and foot and drains the blood from us because it represents a survival of static concepts that are an anachronism in our evolutionist system of thought. A Catholic newsletter says that in the theology of Teilhard, we are all becoming Christ. There is no original sin, and therefore no need of redemption. Evolutionary forces are ferrying everyone along to godhood, and all are anonymous Christians making faith in the literal death and resurrection of Christ unnecessary. The American Atheist magazine understands the situation too well. It writes, destroy Adam and Eve and original sin, and in the rubble you will find the sorry remains of the Son of God, and take away the meaning of his death. But did Teilhard intend to undermine the Christ of the Bible? Some have thought so, since Teilhard's evolutionary teachings parallel Eastern mysticism and pagan theology.
The whole Eastern pagan theological worldview is to undermine the deity of Christ and to elevate the deity of humanity. So Eastern mysticism, paganism, is talking about the God within. The way they Christianize it is by saying Christ is within me. I am the Christ, or the Antichrist that's going to come is the Christ, or the Lord, the Maitreya. So all of it is actually lessening the work of Christ, and man is elevated to a Christ-like person. And you'll find that in most of the cults, they will not give, Christ is not given the position of deity.
Another researcher writes that Roman Catholic scholar Pierre Teilhard de Chardin taught that the God to be worshipped is the one who will arise out of the evolving human race. Surely man's desire echoes Lucifer's proud boast. The book of Isaiah says of him, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
I will. You know, this guy's an egomaniac, self-deceived egomaniac. I think he really thinks he's going to win the battle with God. Anyway, he said, I will be like the Most High. I mean, you got to be really deluded even to say that. That's the impossible dream. How many Most Highs can there be? I mean, you can't have. That's why God is called the Most High God. Okay? Now, there are a lot of other pretender gods. But he says to them, Jeremiah 10, verses 10 and 11, I'm the true God that created this universe. You say to the gods who have not made this heaven and earth, they will perish from under this heaven and from this earth. So, in that one ambition, I will be like the Most High, Lucifer did away with monotheism, one true God, he introduced polytheism. There will be many gods. Well, I'll be one of them. In fact, he's going to be the supreme one.
Lucifer's desire to be like the Most High God has compelled him to counterfeit the things of God. It is for this reason that so many similarities exist between the pagan religions of the world and Christianity. The Virgin Mother Goddess cult is perhaps the greatest example of this. Bible scholars believe that God's promise in the Garden of Eden concerning the seed of the woman, as opposed to the seed of the man, is the earliest reference to the virgin birth. It is for this reason that we find so many counterfeit virgin mothers in the pagan religions, mothers that look very similar to the paintings of the Virgin Mary, holding their sons who are often called deliverers. In paganism, one of the titles given to the Mother Goddess figures is the Queen of Heaven, a title that Rome has also given to the Catholic Virgin Mary. But in the Bible, Mary was never called a queen, and nobody ever prayed to her. In fact, in the book of Jeremiah, God specifically condemns prayers and offerings to the so-called Queen of Heaven. This confusion has caused some New Agers to suggest that Christianity is based upon pagan doctrines. New Age writer David Icke writes that Jesus was born to a virgin, but so was Krishna, Buddha, Lao Tse, Confucius, Horus, Ra, Zoroaster, Prometheus, Perseus, Apollo, Mercury, Baldur, Quetzalcoatl, and far too many others to mention. But what Icke and New Agers fail to realize is that Satan has for centuries been counterfeiting the promise of God concerning a deliverer, something that God promised in the Garden of Eden when he spoke of the seed of the woman that would bruise the head of the serpent. Just as God laid the foundation for the Messiah through the prophecies of the Scripture and fulfilled them in Jesus Christ, so Satan has prepared the world through the ancient mystery religions for the coming of Antichrist. The Greek prefix anti holds two meanings. It means against, but it also means another or in the place of. Therefore, Antichrist is literally another Christ. Teilhard de Chardin, who is known as one of the most frequently quoted writers by leading New Age occultists, defines perhaps better than any the Antichrist prophesied throughout the New Age movement. Teilhard said, quote, "I believe that the Messiah whom we await, whom we all without any doubt await, is the universal Christ. That is to say, the Christ of evolution." Teilhard said, "A general convergence of religions upon a universal Christ who fundamentally satisfies them all. That seems to me the only possible conversion of the world, and the only form in which a religion of the future can be conceived." Teilhard's views have been warmly welcomed by Pope John Paul II, who praised the wonderful repercussions of his research and investigations. The Pope has furthered Teilhard's vision through the ecumenical movement.
The Pope is the leader of an ecumenical movement like this world has never seen. He gathered 160 leaders of the world's 12 major religions there in Assisi. Who was there? Snake worshippers, literally, some snake worshippers. Fire worshippers, spiritists, animists, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, North American Indian witch doctors. They're painting feathers, fetishes, and rattles, walking to the microphone, to pray for peace. And he said, we're all praying to the same God. Our prayers are creating a spiritual energy, bringing about a new climate for peace. So there is an ecumenical movement. It won't just be the Catholics. I mean, you can see they're all joining the Catholic Church. The ecclesial head of the Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury, he says, we got to come back under the Pope. Robert Schuller says, what do we have to do to say to the shepherd, how do we come home, They're all talking about we've got to acknowledge the leadership of the Pope. So you have this ecumenical movement, and all of them will join under Rome.
The ecumenical movement has compelled Pope John Paul II to put on the garments of paganism in more ways than one. The Pope kissed the Muslim Quran, a book that vehemently denies Jesus as the Son of God. He allowed his friend, the Dalai Lama, to replace the cross with a statue of Buddha on the altar of St. Peter's Church in Assisi, and for the Dalai Lama and his monks to perform their Buddhist worship there. The Pope even received the mark of Shiva on his forehead. Shiva is the Hindu god who is called the Lord of Death. Disturbing to some researchers is the fact that according to the Satanic Bible, Shiva is a synonym for Satan.